she never imagined that a single moment could rewrite her entire life. That morning felt ordinary, predictable, safe. The sun was shining over Westbrook High, students were laughing in the parking lot, and Emily Carter was walking across the street with her phone in her hand, barely paying attention to the world around her. She had always believed her life was perfectly under control, popular, wealthy, admired. She was the kind of girl people noticed. But what she didn't know was that within the next few seconds, everything she thought she understood about life, about people, and about herself was about to change forever. Emily Carter was the definition of privilege. Growing up in a beautiful suburban home in Illinois, she never had to worry about money, reputation, or opportunity. Her father owned one of the biggest construction companies in the county, and her mother made sure their family maintained a flawless image. At school, Emily carried herself with effortless confidence. Designer clothes, perfect grades, a carefully selected circle of friends. Her life looked like something straight out of a coming-of-age movie. She wasn't openly cruel, but she had an invisible filter. She chose who deserved her attention and who didn't. And somewhere far below that invisible line stood Jack Miller. Jack was quiet, almost invisible in the crowded hallways. He wore the same worn-out jacket most days and carried an old backpack that looked like it had survived a decade. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep their small apartment running after his father walked out years ago. Jack never complained. He never asked for sympathy. He focused on school, kept his head down, and left campus as soon as classes ended. Most people barely noticed him. Emily certainly didn't. In fact, when a teacher once assigned them as partners for a project, Emily had whispered under her breath, "You've got to be kidding me." Her friends laughed. Jack heard it. He said nothing. He simply did most of the work and turned it in on time. Then came that Tuesday. School had just ended. Students were spilling out onto the sidewalks. Emily was texting her friend about a weekend party, stepping into the crosswalk without looking up. At the same moment, a car turned the corner far too fast. Tires screeched, but she didn't hear it in time. Jack did. From across the street, he saw the car. He saw Emily frozen in confusion, and he didn't think. He ran. In one split second, he grabbed her arm and shoved her out of the way. They both hit the pavement hard. The car slammed on its brakes, stopping only feet away. Gasps filled the air. Someone screamed. Everything felt slow and loud at the same time. Emily's heart pounded violently. For a second, she couldn't breathe. When she opened her eyes, she saw Jack beside her, his elbow scraped and bleeding. "Are you okay?" he asked, calm but slightly out of breath. That was the first time she really looked at him, not as the quiet poor kid, not as the invisible classmate, but as the person who had just saved her life. She nodded, still shaking. You saved me." He shrugged slightly. Anyone would have done it. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the moment in her mind, the screeching tires, the impact, Jack's hand pulling her away. For the first time in her life, she felt small. All her popularity, her money, her perfect image, none of it mattered in that moment. None of it protected her. The next day at school, word had spread. Students were calling Jack a hero. Some of the same people who ignored him were now patting him on the back. But Jack acted like nothing had changed. He sat in his usual seat, reading quietly before class. Emily walked up to him during lunch. Her friends watched from a distance, confused. "Hey," she said softly. Jack looked up, surprised. "I never really said thank you properly, so thank you for everything." He gave a small smile. "You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad you're okay." But she did owe him something, and she knew it. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. Emily started noticing him, not because of what he did, but because of who he was. She saw how he helped a struggling student with math without asking for credit. She noticed how he stayed late to work on assignments. She realized he was one of the smartest people in their class. One afternoon in the library, she finally asked, "Why don't you ever talk about yourself?" Jack closed his book slowly. "Because most people don't really want to listen." The honesty in his voice hit her harder than she expected. For the first time, Emily began questioning herself. Had she ever truly listened to anyone outside her circle? Had she ever looked beyond appearances? She asked if she could study with him for finals. He agreed. Days turned into conversations. Conversations turned into laughter. And slowly, something genuine began to grow. Not romance, not yet, but respect. When Emily visited his apartment for the first time, she saw a different world. Small kitchen, old furniture, but warmth, effort, love. His mother greeted her with tired but kind eyes. Emily felt something shift inside her. She realized how protected and unaware she had been her whole life. One evening, sitting on the apartment steps at the sunset, Emily finally said it. "I had judged you." Jack looked at her calmly. "Most people do." "I was wrong." He smiled softly. "It's okay. What matters is that you see it now." That sentence stayed with her. Months later, at graduation, Emily stood at the podium as valedictorian. The entire auditorium was silent. We spend so much time chasing status, popularity, image, success, but sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who teach us the biggest lessons. I learned that the hard way. Her eyes found Jack in the crowd, and I'll never forget it, because that Tuesday didn't just save her life, it changed who she was becoming.